Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new edition of the Fans of Power podcast. I guess it's always going to be brand new because we're not capable of doing reruns. So, I'm Tyler Baker, and rounding out this trifecta of terror on people who've got bad ideas about He-Man is the Rotten Amato Joe Amato and Nasty Nate Kennedy. Gentlemen?
Oh, I thought he was going to say something after that. I thought he was going to be like, gentlemen, let's broaden our minds or something like that. But no, it's just a long
I guess I could have said let's broaden our minds, but then Joe's like, what movie is that from?
I'm doing okay.
That sounds familiar.
Doing okay. Same old stuff week after week.
I was going to say, as for me, I'm not seeing Nathan said there's like a new font or a new thing going on, but I do not have my computer in front of me, so I'm not seeing the chat room. I won't be able to see nothing. I can't see this episode until we're done later, so I'm curious to see what is going on. But Nathan said it's new format.
With the new look that I've given the show, I decided it was...
As long as you didn't put like a dick on my head or something stupid in the font.
No, you put it in your mouth instead,
Right there the whole time.
I'll do before we get into our topics, I'll do the motto thing, and I know some people are going to be popping in after the fact, and we'll kind of get to you when I...
This means tough shit for you if you show up late.
Have to do the questions, but hello to Adam Gabbard, Eric Amon, Papa Hud 69, Zen Brown, and Zentron. I'm sure more will filter in as we go along. I'm already getting some feedback that they're loving the new look, so I appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoy it. I streamlined it. I cleaned it up. I made it look better.
Are these fake comments, or are you just saying it yourself to boost your ego? Are they really saying this?
Is my name Tyler Baker? No, Joe.
Ooh, that was a...
No, that
Tyler's gonna take that shit.
I guess Joe's just kind of like, there's no way people are giving anybody else in this podcast compliments about anything. I mean, they know I'm an asshole, and Nathan's just the tech guy. I mean, all the praises got to go towards Joe, right? I mean, God forbid any of us get a nice remark of positive thinking or respect or dignity or
greedy. I gotta have it all. I'm greedy.
Well, we know that you are. You're a glutton for food and for compliments as well. Respect.
Well, hey, speaking of that, and I think that Nathan, you said Eric Amon's here. I want to thank him for the announcement about the free nuggets that Wendy's had on Friday because
shit.
Yeah, got some free nuggets. Hit multiple places. Taco Bell on Tuesday has been giving out free tacos every Tuesday.
Oh, man.
You got to hit multiple places multiple times.
God.
So free food for Joe on Tuesdays and Fridays. Thanks, Eric.
I'm sure Joe's just like, damn it, this pandemic just hit right at the perfect time. Everyone's giving away free shit. What a great time to be alive.
Joe's not suffering at all. He's just going from chain to chain, just grabbing up. I heard you guys. I'm here for the free tacos. I'm here for the free nuggets. Like, don't play dumb with me. I know they're free.
Exactly, but I did multiple times, different locations, because like the Taco Bell. No, for instance, the Taco Bell.
So you went to multiple Taco Bells and multiple Wendy's. You son of a bitch.
Bitch.
And at different times, because remember, you got shift that's towards the afternoon, something towards the evening. And what's cool about Taco Bell is you could go in and place the orders like at the the touch screen thing, but you can't eat inside. Man, later,
Joe, I wish more places, I know McDonald's has it too, I wish more places would implement that touchscreen. I go in, I don't have to talk to anybody. I just go in, tap the shit, and then they're like, order 278, and I'm like, hey, that's me, I'm out of there. It's great. I love it.
Yes. It looked pitiful, but I mean, I would go into there, because you can go inside, you just can't sit down, and I'd say, you guys giving away free tacos? I didn't want to sound like a bum, but hey, they're giving away free tacos. Like, I was like, okay.
So they know the face. They know that modulite mask. Like,
they do.
Shit, just.
And then I hit the drive-through. You go later. You go through the drive-through, so it just worked perfectly. Hit different people, different.
Is that how you get away with it? You go without the mask the first time, then you put the mask on the second time.
Wait.
Guilty about it.
And
pandemic.
And the thing is, with that going on, no one's going to question him anymore if he's just walking around with the mask on. Shit. Yeah. This is like the greatest time in Joe's life.
Joe's probably stepping outside the house for the first time, and just not giving two shits about anything. Just walk around, saying hello to children really close with the mask on. It's okay, kids. I'm covered up here.
Get you picture shit like that. Everybody's in the pandemic freaking out. It's like the best time of my life. I can go out with this. I could get free food. I was like, what's everybody complaining about? This is free shit, and you can go out and look any way you want. I'm loving it.
It's like the like in the Dawn of the Dead remake, when that lounge version of that Disturbed song's just playing and Joe's just walking around like having a good grand old time. Jeez. So how many Taco Bells?
How many shining on him?
Yeah, how many Taco Bells and how many Wendy's did you go to?
No, there's 3 Taco Bells. The Wendy's are 4. So I mean, it's not like they're everywhere popped up, but it's a good little.
It was worth the trip, right? To go everywhere and get.
Yeah. I mean, with just a couple miles trip, you could load up and enjoy some free food. So remember that. Tuesdays always Taco Bell. I don't know if Wendy's is always going to do the Friday thing, but this is the 4th week I think Taco Bell is doing that free taco on Tuesday. So
and now Joe's because McDonald's, I noticed, I think either on specific days or it might just be a one-time deal. If you work like in the medical field and you go, they'll give you like a free meal. So I'm sure Joe's already hard at work at photoshopping like an ID badge from his local hospital and going around. It's like, I'm a nurse.
He's a proctologist. I guarantee that's what Joe's saying he is. He's an ass doctor. He's the ass man.
That's terrible. Could you imagine? And I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that on TV too. Which talking about they're giving it free like meals to the people that are.
All right, Joe.
But I won't go that low. I get free stuff for everybody. I'm one of those people. But I won't impersonate nobody else. I promise.
Sure.
Joe is a tried and true bum. Like he's not going to fake it. He's going to own it. And
could you see Joe like picking out the ones that are faking it and it's like, hey, you can't do this, you son of a bitch. I'm the real bum here. And he gets into a fist
I know
fight.
Joe kind of leaves, that guy's faking it. He's really not, I mean, look at the guy.
Right.
I'm legit. Have you smelt me?
Right here.
I mean, Joe has to smell pretty good, like all those Hot Topic girls that he's picked up over the years.
I do smell
yeah.
But no, I have no shame in saying yes. I'm one of those people that I don't care. I love getting free shit, and like I said, trying to get stuff for real cheap prices. That's all me. So
Now, do you show up to get free stuff even if you don't need it, or if it's something that you would never get any other time, but you'll get it just because it's free?
Do you mean like just some weird random piece of shit that I would never let's say, wear or use? Or
well, I mean, if Walmart was doing like a giveaway of the 20th anniversary of Pokemon trading cards.
No, nothing like that. No,
are you sure? Are you sure about that?
Like, Joe, you're full of shit here. No, really, no stuff that I wouldn't need. Only stuff I need or I'd want. Bam, I'll be right there. So
you wouldn't need the Pokemon cards.
No, wouldn't need the Pokemon cards. I've gone to plenty of things where they would send that thing in the mail and it's like, come listen to one of our things about how to own a home and how to do this, and you can get a free meal.
Joe's sitting there.
Oh, man. Joe, have you ever gone into... we may have talked about this before, but I imagine you go into like the Grand Piano stores and get your free Coke, right?
The who? Where?
Maybe the Grand Piano stores are just more localized on the East Coast for us, Tyler. Maybe that's not a thing in the mid parts unknown.
Or maybe from Joe's perspective, Grand Piano is like, oh, that snooty, furniture place,
Yeah.
I've never heard. I thought it was a piano
it's too posh
store.
for Joe.
Yeah, if anybody has a Grand Piano store, when you go in, they're like, oh, hey, welcome to our store. Can I help you with anything? Would you like a complimentary free Coke? And it comes in like the glass bottle and everything, so that's pretty cool.
Never heard of it. No,
and
we don't have that.
How about free water at Home Depot? You take advantage of that?
Wait, they do that?
Free what at Home Depot?
Oh, yeah. If you go into Home Depot, especially like the summertime, they give away free bottles of water.
Didn't know that.
No, and we have Home Depot, but no, I never got the free
I should
water.
be what the hell is it we're talking about getting free shit as opposed to all these badass heroes and villains. We're talking about Joe getting free food.
Well, we should.
I'm just assuming people who listen to this, not now, they're used to it, but who were listening to it after the fact, like, oh my God, will they just get to the He-Man topics or something? I'm just curious, Well, because that's how I would be. People start bullshitting about, oh man, I took this major shit on Tuesday. I mean, let me tell you all about it. And I would just pull a Keanu Reeves right there on the spot because I'm like, just get.
We could always fall back in those old Beyond Retro podcasting trope days where we started just talking about poop all the time. We could do that on here.
Nah, we don't need to remind ourselves of that podcast that no one gave two shits about. So.
Well, let's get hell, Tyler. However you want to start, let's start getting into some of the topics.
I was just poking fun. There's no mad rush to get into the topics. I was just I was just
I think
shucking and jiving.
I think that every good podcast has to have like that opening bullshit segment where you just kind of talk. And besides, this is the only time a week where all of us are face to face, like actually talking to each other. That's not through text or Facebook Messenger. So there we go.
And we randomly do.
I don't eat fast food, so I really don't have too much to share about any of this stuff. So I just have to sit and listen to it.
Yeah, and we usually do it, like I said, towards the end anyway. Sometimes when we ramble with the question and answer part of the show after we do our 2 topics or 3 or however many it is. But yeah, we'll probably get back into that, I'm sure, at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, however you want to start, Tyler, if you want to start with either the mini comic or doing the commentary, whatever you think you wanted to hit first.
You know, we always do the commentary last. I said let's do the commentary first.
Okay.
Well, before we jump into it, if you guys click down below in the description, I have a link there. Go ahead, click on that, get it set up if you want to go ahead and watch along with us. And Tyler, you threw out a multitude of episodes toward me to kind of like, this is what I'm thinking topic-wise. Right off the top of your head, what's the main reason that you chose this episode? And I want to go ahead and say before we get into the commentary, and I feel like other people do this too. I hope other people do this because I messed up as well. I was thinking great books of mystery, not great books mystery. I don't know if other people have a tendency to do that, but I always just want to shoehorn the oven there. But why did we choose this episode this week? What was the main driving force for it?
Pretty much just covering Batros.
Okay.
You know, we talked about the character, you know, on our one-shot villains discussions that we've had, and I kind of figured. I think Joe had mentioned it recently, like the character anyway, or is either Joe? I think Joe had mentioned it last week. I think so. I was like,
yeah,
you know, because I think we all agreed Song of Solace. I'm like, holy shit, we've already done that. Like, you know, it was just trying because I know we've covered a lot of like really good episodes. There's still some good ones we haven't covered yet, but it was a list I put together, and I think that was the one that I think you two both agreed on. But pretty much Batros, okay. You know, he's a unanimously celebrated one-shot villain. I mean, I don't think he's on the same levels like Mask and Chakotay, and maybe he is for somebody, you know, and that would be awesome if he is, because he's a very interesting one-shot villain that people are so quick to think that he's a member of the Horde.
Which they're going to find out he's not, so that's another reason to discuss this.
Yeah, I guess we will get into that when we get into the episode, because I do have some questions and some comments, because I went ahead and took notes. And I want you guys to think, too, because I've already seen in the chat where it's like, Batros, duh, dummy. But you got to think, when he's giving me these list of episodes, I'm just seeing it as that and kind of looking at it for face value. So I looked at it and I'm like, all right, well, who's in this episode? Who's in this episode? And I was like, oh, Batros, that seems all right. And I want to stress that because of this, and because I did not own the Classics Batros, it is on the way from eBay, which Tyler was like, I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah, because that's how it is. I'll recommend something to Nathan because of this particular factor, and like, that was really good. I bought the character. I'm like, I knew you would. Yeah. You know, because I'm a great salesman with Nathan. Yeah. You know, I don't have that kind of influence on anybody else, though. I don't feel like, you know, any of our listeners, if I would say, hey, look, I'm telling you, you know, check out, you know, She-Demon of Phantos because it's Strong Arm and Lizard Man. They're like, what's that? What's She-Demon of Phantos? What was that in She-Ra? No, asshole. Yeah. You know, I don't have the cult leader appeal that Joe has to people who listen to this podcast. I don't know what it is.
Maybe if you took your Batros figure and took a picture with a burrito or like your turkey burger packaging or something, you could get that streamlined and bolted.
Well, maybe I could, you know, hold it as so with a nice flex and gleam on my arm.
Pull that one in a little bit closer to you.
Yeah, picture this.
There you go.
This. Yeah, there you go, people. There's a reason to buy Batros. I hold him up on a high pedestal here, people.
Now, do you have his weapon accessory in hand at all, or did you decide to kind of do it?
No.
Yeah, because
because he doesn't use it.
That was just a repaint, right, of Spike-Ore's weapon accessory?
Yeah. And, you know, with a lot of these characters, like Lizard Man got a weapon, Strong Arm got a weapon. Some of them were like pack-ins of weapons that were featured in the cartoon.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this was in, you know, this particular episode, this was in the Dragon Invasion. We just packed it in with this character. But like Lizard Man got a sword. He got Skeletor's sword and the Diamond Ring Disappearance. Just a reason to pack in those accessories. And hell, Lord Mask got New Adventure He-Man. I think Thunder Punch He-Man's accessories, like the in the neon green style. So I think some people thought they were like Lord Mask's weapons. Like, no, he doesn't have any weapons.
Yeah.
But
well,
but yeah, no, he doesn't need the weapon.
Maybe you could take like a book in that scale and put it in like Batro's hands, because that's kind of his whole.
Well,
thing
the Shadow Weaver did come with a book,
yeah.
which, you know, if I didn't have that boxed up, that would be a great accessory to put. Maybe we get Joe to like just some like little custom like little books, you know, something like that.
I could do that. Actually, be kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he does need something like that, but typically, you know, he just uses his hands and his sorcery. Like, you really don't, you know. I don't think he would really need like a staff of some kind. You know, like Skeletor has his staff. Hordak really doesn't have a definitive weapon. King Hiss has kind of got your staff, but I don't know. I don't feel like every villain would need an iconic weapon that goes with them, especially if you're like Batros, where your weapon is sorcery. Yeah. So you kind of feel like, you know, I mean, Azrog doesn't have a staff either.
Well, I was thinking about it too. When I do get Batros in the mail, I don't think I can pose him this way, so I'm probably going to have to just pose him similar to you, but you can't really get his arms kind of like straight up like he's shooting the beams out of his hands in the episode.
Well, no, because the wings, they don't have that kind of like it expand out.
Because they're actually like molded into his arms. So yeah, that's kind of...
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we've BS long enough, so hopefully you guys have clicked on that link, you have the episode loaded up, and you are ready to watch along with us. And before we do that, I'm going to change it to this little splash screen. It's going to have us in the corner while we watch with a little TV with a still image, because I don't need any of that copyright shit. And you guys can enjoy Tyler's collection in the background. So we'll switch it over to that. Tyler, go ahead and give us the countdown, and we will get this episode going.
3, 2, 1, action. I didn't see this episode until I came across the King Video Collection, which had like the biggest collection, as I mentioned before, and it was on a VHS of 5 other episodes. The Great Books Mystery was, and it was like the one episode on that tape that I liked. The rest of them I wasn't too fond of at the time, at least. It's kind of disappointing to see, like, oh man, another tape with 5 episodes on it, and I only liked 1.
Yeah, that always had to have been a bummer. Joe, what was your first experience with this episode? How were you feeling?
Just watching it on watching it on TV, okay. And as a kid, it's going to sound kind of mean, but I just kind of didn't like it. I mean, I liked Batros, but I thought it was one of the, because at that time when I was growing up, there was a lot of the preachy, you know, books are power, knowledge is power, and I was like, you know. But you know what? As an adult, damn, do I really appreciate this so much more, you know, especially with, you know, given how, think about a lot of the books and things and knowledge we have that might be getting lost because of the internet. And a lot, you know, you need physical copies. So I've grown to really appreciate the message of this, you know, episode. And plus, it's a good episode. And I even like Batros even more after watching it again. But as a kid, I felt that, I don't know, it just annoyed me.
Well, and I can understand that too. Like when Batros steals damn near every book, and a book on unicorns and things like that, you know, it's just kind of a way to get everyone wrapped in. But the root of stealing all the books to own vast amounts of knowledge, like, yeah, that's a villainous thing to do, especially if they're, you know, ancient books, you know, books that are, you know, one of a kind, have got, you know, certain bits of information in them. You know, kind of makes you think of like the Ninth Gate, you know, where Johnny Depp's trying to verify which one of which one of those books can really summon the devil, you know, which has Skeletor in it too. And just like that movie alone, like the emphasis on how valuable some books are because of the, I take this right back to Franklin Jello, but, you know, given the amount of wisdom they contain. Wait, I can't do it like how Franklin Jello does it, but it's just it really hammers in the importance of books. And in this episode, yes, to piggyback of what Joe says, it may come off like trying to emphasize kids that it's important to read. But, you know, books, I feel like, were emphasized before in this show. They've been used in Daemon the Demon, House of Shakoti, Dragon's Gift, which I always liked it when they would show pictures or scenes of the characters looking through the books and the images that were in them. I found it to be kind of fascinating. And sometimes they could really take the preachy idea a bit too far with some of these episodes. I mean, I could definitely see how this would be taken that way, but given Batros and Skeletor's place in the story, it becomes a little bit more not so childlike. Right. I guess you could say.
A couple of observations that I had early on. Well, first right here, when he's kind of talked to him, it's kind of funny to me how King Randor just thinks that this guy just misplaced a shitload of books, like every single book. I was like, come on, Randor, get it together. But the other thing that I noticed too, when Tila hops down from that rope, like hones in on her ass for a second. Was that something?
Yeah. They do that with the guys too. They do it guys and girls, and it was shown a lot.
Yeah. I was gonna ask if that was a thing that was reused quite a bit.
Yeah, okay. It was stock. Yeah.
And for guys, so for those who would say, "Oh, that looks sexist," like, nope, they did it with the guys too. And also, you can see they clearly show her as very competent. She's not being treated less than a man, like at the beginning. She's showing. I
can't imagine anybody who is someone who likes to attack sexists is listening to this podcast, because if they were, they probably would have attacked us a long time ago. So
yeah, well, just in case it's in their heads, like look at a very competent, strong woman, and she's showing him how to climb. He does the climbing, which I think that might even be hinted at maybe a little something later, maybe, with something with He-Man, you see. But otherwise, she's not shown beneath and he's not shown above. So that's what I always love about this cartoon, like you said, and I don't think anybody thinks of us like you just said, Tyler. They don't think of us like that. But it's good just to focus it in.
No, I'm just saying if they did, though, I think they either would have made a point to tell us, because, we like beautiful women. We like the women, how they look in both He-Man and She-Ra and various other canons. We're not ashamed of it. It doesn't mean that we're awful people. We've emphasized how awesome the women are written in both series.
It was just something,
and just in general too.
Well, it was just something that I noticed. I was like, that kind of hung on there for a while. So I thought I'd ask: Is this stock? Is this something that happened quite often? I've had a couple of ads on here as I've been watching, so I might kind of fluctuate in between being in sync with you guys.
I'm surprised you're not using YouTube Red.
Well, when I watch it on here, I'm in the Fans of Power YouTube account, so I don't have that link to that.
Oh, gotcha.
I surprisingly on the He-Man official channel did not have a single ad, and I thought usually it's loaded with ads. There was not a single ad on this one. So, well, here we go. Now we finally get to see where the books are and who has them.
And I guess I'll go ahead and get to this point, because I read a little bit too. I thought that it is funny to see that people think that symbol he has on his chest means that he's with the Horde, but he appeared before the Horde figures were even manufactured or anything, correct? Or is this kind of
this?
I thought there was some sort of kind of time in between with that.
Yeah, in terms of the Horde get introduced in 1985. She-Ra comes on the air in 1985. This first batch of episodes that this is a part of was released in 84, and then the latter half of season 2 was put out in 85. Okay. So yes, this would have been out, and then you would see in the Origin of the Sorceress the first mention of the Horde before they're ever brought up.
And those three suckers, right? Those three Horde member guys. Yeah. Arachne and something, or I can't remember all their names.
Yeah, I was actually I was looking at them the other day just for the sake of just kind of flipping through the encyclopedia, and I can't remember their names either.
But I could understand, like you said, why people would think that, he's a member of the Horde, because not only is it somewhat, it's like a bat symbol, but it's a red one, just like the Horde's red. But I mean, he's not a Horde member. When you look,
Skeletor too has got a bat on his harness as well, but people don't seem to really pay attention on it.
Maybe it's because it ain't red. Maybe if it was red, they would have thought, hey, that could have been too. But I sometimes but as you can see, the design of Batros's bat is quite different from the Horde. So
yes.
One thing that sucked is that Batros didn't fly. I always wanted, like I said, some Horde excuse me. See, look what the fuck I just did. I just said Horde. Oh, and I dropped my first F-bomb. Well, anyways, I always wished he could fly, because none of the evil warriors could fly. None of Skeletor's evil warriors. You never had somebody flying. I was like, I want to see somebody. And he's like, but he's still cool as shit, though. I like that sun effect. I don't know if that was just me, but for some reason it stuck out to me.
Yeah,
now, Tyler, do you remember many times that happening? A really focused effect on that?
Not that I can think of the top of my mind. Like if we see scenes like this in the Sands of Time or in the various desert scenes, it was just kind of like daytime in the desert. And that's at least that I can focus on. And we're back in the Temple of the Sun, which was also featured in that shitty episode, Temple of the Sun, with that shitty character Nepthu.
And here's my asshole moment. You know I was going to do it at least one time. Tyler already knows what's coming, and it's involving Orko right here. So Orko, boom, he goes down there, and he's falling. How the hell are you falling, Orko? You fly. But that's my only asshole moment.
Well, it's like when we trip and fall just by standing up. Like you just kind of walk awkwardly and you fall over like a calamity.
I gotta do it to Tyler. He's like, I'm falling in the air and falling down.
Yes, I get why people want to, be an asshole and start questioning stuff like that. But we got to have Orko get down there. And of course, thank God Joe wasn't hanging around, Filmation back in the '80s where he's just like picking apart the plots. I mean, they'd have picked him up by his ass just tossed him right out, like at the beginning of the Flintstones.
Yep. And look, I always like Skeletor is just spying on everybody all the time, because that was the thing I was thinking. I was like, man, and I as a kid thought he's going to catch Prince Adam turning into He-Man one of these times. I actually thought that was going to happen on the show, but of course never did.
That was another thing I think I wanted to ask. With him having the ability to kind of just be the seeing eye of everything going on all the time and the teleportation and everything, I know that it's a way to sort of accentuate the power and the ability that He-Man has, but did it ever bother you guys that like Skeletor is so strong, but like he just seems weak all the time, just because they have to make He-Man look so strong? Does that make sense?
Well, I also blame it on all the scrutiny Filmation was on or under about the villains can't be overly scary or threatening. It's a shame that we just didn't really get to. I mean. Obviously, it's a cheap way of making all the characters look essentially the same, like body type. But you do picture Skeletor as someone who could go toe-to-toe with He-Man, like in an actual fist fight. And that you can actually picture both of them just beating the shit out of each other. But that Skeletor is portrayed as a pussy a lot of times. It's make everyone else do all the work, and when it gets tough, I get the hell out of here. But that's what a real chicken shit wrestler, a chicken shit heel does. That's what gets them over. They run when it's more advantageous for them.
And plus, like, you don't want to be that person that, like I said, how I jokingly nitpick. Like, I'd never be the one to where, like you seen with Skeletor, when he can just boom, he could disappear and just teleport to Snake Mountain. Then I think, okay, well, why would he need the Collector? Why would he have to be in this? Of course, the Collector's used to grab things, but anytime he's in a situation, like even if he's bound up, it's like, okay, he could teleport. But that's just being nitpicky, stupid.
Well, that alone, like the Collector, like Skeletor could just transport wherever he wants, but you do.
He's got to bring his warriors with him.
You got to bring the warriors there. Yeah. You have equipment that's there.
Sure.
Think of the Collector's use in a Colossal Awakes, but. I really like how they obviously like the idea of Batros because they gave him some really good use of animation, like
and that right there, just for an example, his sound effects, how when he shot him out of his hands, I always thought it's how they're going to refer to it later. It's kind of like lasers. I never felt like, even though, like you said, he's got some magic, obviously he's using within him, but it always felt more. I don't know, laser-like, just like they said, it just seemed different, especially the sound
I think
effects.
That's just kind of bad dialogue. Anytime anybody that's a sorcerer that fires beams out of their hands, I've never once thought of them as lasers. It's just the sound effects they use and just not the best dialogue.
He makes those things too, the snakes, and turns them to rope. Yeah. And for one quick second, watch Trapjaw. You'll see a piece of white on his shoulder right there. Damn, it was so quick. I always thought, was that supposed to have been rope on his shoulder? Was it an animation error? But it was so quick. It was on his, his arm attachment shoulder. And it never popped again because when I was seeing this rope here, I was thinking, is it going to happen again? Was it a part that was meant to be used and never shown again? But as goofy as that sound, that always stuck out to me was this white part there because you never see it again in this whole episode.
I wanted to ask you guys because I had written down here that to me, I think it would have been like I like the snake thing, but I think it would have been cool if he would have used it to create other facades to trick the evil warriors and heroic warriors. So I'll ask you guys a question: what else would you like to have seen Batros sort of create to kind of intimidate his foes?
I guess so.
I almost feel like, like the variety, like swamp bats and wolf bats. Not saying he's got control over bats. I mean that's a little, that's a bit silly, but I don't know, like bat like. Honestly, you really couldn't limit this guy. I take that back. Playing things a little too close to the characters, like he's a bat-like creature, doesn't need to have a lot of things bat associated with him because he's more about intelligence. So I'd say pretty much anything, kind of like Skeletor and Hordak. It's kind of whatever, or a Mask. If he decides to want to create a monster out of sand, damn it, he could do it.
And even thinking if with all them books, maybe there's a lot of knowledge of a lot of mystical spells, a lot of witchcraft.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get
Plus, I would have loved just the ability of flying. I could only imagine that this creature flying and using his powers. But you know what? I always loved this meeting between him and Skeletor. Too. As you can see, Batross isn't taking any shit at all. I love it.
I think that's my favorite part of the episode. You guys might have to hit me with a time code here in a second just to make sure kind of like where I'm at. But I
1347. Yep.
Okay, so I've kind of jumped just a tad bit ahead.
I love that.
All right, so I like already, and I have the quotes written down, so I'll just go ahead and say them as we're kind of watching this. But I like the quotes where Batross is like, "You talk and I'll listen," and Skeletor's like, "I'll talk and you'll obey." And then
it's a real pompous thing to say.
And when Skeletor says, "You have a brain that could warm my heart if I had a heart," kind of thing, I was like, "That's good." And then when he's kind of going back and forth with him, and he looks at Beastman, and he's like, "See, some use their heads for something besides growing fur." It's just all of this scene in particular is very well done. That's my favorite part of the episode.
And you don't take this as kiddie.
No,
you don't take it as kiddie or childish or campy or nothing. So more of an example of for those who thought Filmation was all goofy. Watch this episode and just see some of this stuff and think, does this seem goofy and kiddie and campy at all? Not at all.
No,
and a good serious Skeletor. Yeah, and not a goofy Skeletor, or a serious Skeletor. I mean, I love that when he's looking at those snakes, like, is that supposed to scare me or something? Boom, just blasting away. It's like, that's not impressing him. But I love the character of Batross because we talked about who's somebody that could take over or maybe be a good leader. I mean, Batross' attitude, you can see Batross is somebody that would probably never want to work with Skeletor and be his second in command, even though he offered him, like, hey, if I can get the, the
unless
power
it was like universe, I think of General Tataran, where he... he'll take over, but he'll name General Tataran governor in Skeletor's name. General Tataran's like, I like that idea. Like, you play to what their ambitions really are. Like,
and I even like hearing what Skeletor said. Like, once he gains control of the power of the universe, that he might let Batross have eternity. It shows that Skeletor has bigger and better things. Like, he's even thinking beyond eternity. He's always been thinking about controlling the entire universe, as you know.
At the same time, too, I think I wouldn't put it past Skeletor or even Batross going either other way to just completely undermine and be like, I thought this is what I said, but no, I'm going to take this all.
And you know what pissed me off here? This is the time we get Triclops and Merman, but damn it, to do nothing. I hate it. I was like, they're here, and we don't get them to do nothing.
Well, it's a great shot. I mean, because it makes me think of Dynamite Disappearance, where they're all lined up, just staring down Castle Grayskull. Like, it's a great shot and a good moment, but unfortunately, they're not given anything to do except just kind of to help fill out the scene there. But,
and I love Tyler. I don't know if you remember this. There's going to be a scene when He-Man's, I think, in front of Castle Grayskull. I don't. And there's this lighting effect when they shoot at him. I love this lighting. You're going to see it come up here. If they both shoot at him, watch this beautiful, right there, that shadow of the lighting. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that was used in like Father, Like Daughter.
Don't you love when they added the extra bits like that? Just made it accentuate. And there, Skeletor's gone, just like Nathan was saying earlier. Just, bam, he can leave when he wants.
I like that walking like from the camera below. That they gave that to Batross is like it's an imposing stance because they use it with He-Man a lot and sometimes with Skeletor, but I like that they deliberately gave that to Batross. I mean, because he's got such a great design, and Lou Scheimer does a great job with his voice.
I
like the character a lot.
The one thing there when he made the bridge disappear and he starts to fall, I really like that bass boom effect. Like it gave it an impact. That's because when I was watching this episode, I watched it with the headphones on, so it accentuated that even more for me. I was like, oh yeah, that's a cool sound effect. Which I think, if I'm not mistaken, we kind of got a bit of that like early on in the episode too. It was sort of like the same effect, but maybe kind of toned down just a tad.
Well, as that comes down to a good director as well, too. You know where to, and sound mixing and everything, or know when to properly place certain sound effects, certain bits of stock animation. You may have seen them a million times, but they make more of an impact if you place it just properly in these episodes. I mean, there's certain pieces of music that you've heard in every episode, but if they're placed properly, they're so much more impactful. I kind of like that idea. It's something we didn't see a whole lot of, like the wristband communicator.
That was different.
Yeah.
It seemed like they always try to make like something special with something that we always seen a whole lot, but this episode specifically, it would do something. Yeah.
He-Man.
Didn't He-Man one time?
Yeah,
Didn't He-Man one time even touch his? Oh yeah, I did see where he said.
And I was gonna ask you guys about that. Like, are you fans of the fourth wall breaking in episodes?
Not me. I'm not.
I mean, he did it in Daymar the Demon, and I've always kind of enjoyed that little jab when he like anybody want to buy a used bolo. Like it's quick, it's fine, and you're right back to it. It didn't take me out of it because I don't like it for the most part.
Yeah, because especially if it would have been over.
And if you don't like it, you don't like it, because I don't like funny shit at all, and most of my stuff, unless it's a comedy.
I never liked the looking. Yeah, I never liked the looking at the camera. Because, that took me away from what I always said when I watch these cartoons. I want to feel like I was escaping into this other world, no thoughts of this world. So when they would look at me and talk to me, sometimes like, So like you said, it was sparingly used, thank God. Because if it was used too much, it just would have took you out of the effect.
Oh, no, it'd have been shit.
Yeah.
But I always like seeing a little bit more parts of Snake Mountain, because some episodes, you get to see a little bit more than others. Others is pretty much just the throne room and a dungeon or two, but as big as Snake Mountain is, you just know that there's so much stuff in that location that we never really got to see, or that was never kind of created. Just the Blood Falls alone is an epic part of Snake Mountain, which we got to see a fight in the Dragon Invasion. I'd like to see Nathan's thought on that episode. That'd be fun commentary to have with Nathan on here.
Well, I'm always up for it, so.
Yeah, it's Jitsu's one and only appearance in the entire series.
This seemed to happen a lot. And I had that also in my notes that it's a shame that Batros was never used any more than just this episode. Which I guess we could get into a little bit of like a fantasy episode booking. If you were to bring Batros back into another episode of Filmation, what would you, just off the top of your head, and maybe you've already thought about it plenty of times, but what would you have Batros do in the episode? What would you revolve it around?
I like the idea of him teaming up with Skeletor, like in a legit team up, much like how Skeletor has with General Tataran, because it's good to see Skeletor actually team up, and the goal is not to turn on him. It's like, I'm gonna, I respect this guy, like Monteague in Castle of Heroes, like. He's legitimately good buddies with Monty because he knows he's just as evil as he is. So it's good to see on an occasion that Skeletor would voluntarily and willingly team up with somebody for the sake of, like, this guy could help me out and I can help him out as well. Like, it just changes it up a little bit. We all know Skeletor's going to turn on. He would turn on his own men in a second, and he has. But Batros, I feel like, is also a strong enough character. He could carry his own episode again, but. Like Negator was in Game Plan, great episode. He comes back and oh god, I forgot. It's a waste of the character. Oh god, I can't believe I'm having a brain fart on this one. But they bring Negator back in season 2. And it's a shit episode, and it's back at the Temple of the Sun too. And like, God, everything associated with the Temple of the Sun, it's just like just pointless. But God, I can't believe it. I'm drawing a blank on this, and people forgive me for screwing this up, but it's a waste. He's not used very well. Season 2, if he was brought back, it would have probably been in the latter half of season 2 when people were pretty much given the death sentence in terms of being taken seriously or competent heroes and villains. So, God, they probably would have changed his voice, and who the hell knows what would have happened to Batros had he come back.
So do you think it's probably for the best that this was his only episode? Do you think they would have like watered him down too much to where it would have been a shit episode?
Yeah, the way Skeletor and the rest of the Evil Warriors are treated, it's as much as he's popular because he only had one episode and he made an impression, much like others. and we all were left wanting more. But yeah, you break it down, look at how things were going in Filmation, because which is odd, because She-Ra starts out so strong, and they kind of changed the tone of She-Ra, and whereas the tone of He-Man was a complete 180, when they wrap up with He-Man. So I don't know why they felt it was more appropriate to be more serious with She-Ra, but then make He-Man as laughable and silly and just as, So it's probably best, he wasn't used again, because he probably would have went the way of Negator.
And Joe,
just being a real shit episode.
And Joe, what are your thoughts? Same question to you. If you were to bring Batros back, do you have like a story in your mind that you kind of had like as a kid or growing up, getting a little bit older, that you started fan?
As a kid, never did. But I mean, as a wishful thinking that because like you said, once it hit season 2, that's when it became a little more comedic. I mean, obviously it came more comedic, but if hypothetically, like I said, it went to season 3 and there weren't all the restrictions and they could take things seriously, I'd love to see him to where he could be leading his own group of warriors if he wanted to try to maybe even conquer to go back after Skeletor, take over Snake Mountain. When we were talking about last week about things with Snake Mountain, what if not even just taking over Snake Mountain, but having his own base, being the next group of evil baddies with whoever he has? But I would have just loved if with the books, like maybe you could have seen him a little more in depth, the things that he's been studying, as we said earlier, with rituals, with the evil spells, with maybe abilities to flies, to get anything new. But I would have liked to see more of him. But I know, just like Tyler said, he would have probably got the piss treatment and he would have been slipping on banana pills, unfortunately. But I would, which you always hate with any of the characters, but this is just somebody that, if expanded upon, I think could have been great. Along with doing more with Ice, or having some stuff with Ice and all these characters that were just one-offs.
Let's piggyback on that then. You said that if he brought his own group in, who would you guys have under Batros's wing?
Like new characters. Like, I don't want to. Because not to be a dick or nothing, but I hate the thing of always thinking, okay, this is somebody that, Beastman's had enough of Skeletor. He's leaving him.
No, that's just shitty fan
fiction. I don't want that. Yeah. Right. I don't want that. I would love to see, just as Batros was a new character, new evil warriors. How fucking badass would it have been? As a kid, you would have lost your shit seeing new characters, not just people defecting from one to another. So I would have just loved to see a new cast.
All right, well, I will.
Now Joe likes Sticky Fingers and his pirates, though, right?
Yeah, and as their own gang. Yeah, I do like.
I didn't think they were that interesting looking, though. Like, they look very. I thought it
was cool because
they don't fit the aesthetic of the whereas like the Game Masters.
No,
yeah, that's why I just kind of feel like if you give Batros, I know Nathan, because we're just talking over each other.
No, that was funny because one guy would start and then the next guy would kind of stop when the other one started. That was just
as for Sticky Fingers, no, I know what Tyler's saying with the aesthetic, because you had completely different looking kind of characters. None of them had the just regular same big muscle build like how a Batros would be. You had one real big dude. You had one that's just kind of gangly. You had multiple different types of characters. But
no, I'm fine with that, but they just look like they were from another cartoon. They don't look like they were part of this universe that we're seeing. Whereas the Game Masters, Humanoid, Insect Man, and Bear Man, they look like they fit in the universe. Those characters look like they were they look like pirates. You got the snake pirate and the
that's the thing.
little
they
frog.
were space pirates, so they really did feel like
they look too much like actual pirates, though. Like, it's like in the ancient Avatar where Trapjaw's dressed up like a pirate. He's wearing like the bandana and a beard on his head. Like, this is too much. Like, he might as well just go, while he's at it, too. It's just...
Agreed. I did enjoy them, but you're right. They definitely were space pirates. But as for, like, Batros and new characters, I mean, I would just want more characters with almost what you're saying, obviously, the aesthetic of Masters, because Batros, he had the aesthetic. So as long as they could introduce new characters, if they could have been Minotaurs or Gargoyles or any shit you may have never seen before.
The only person I could actually see, like, legitimately teaming up with that's already established is Evil Lyn. Because... we've seen Evelyn kind of wander about and do her own thing, like with Dark Dream, because she's got connections to Dark Dream. I could, not in a way to piss off Skeletor, but Batros approaches her for her help. It just kind of like a one. She just comes off as the only person that you could see teaming up with almost anybody.
And she does, doesn't she? I mean, she
does. But because the character's established is very ambitious, she is loyal to Skeletor to a certain degree, but she's not opposed to going out and doing her own thing. But we've also seen Trapjaw go off and do his own thing. Merman has gone off and done his own thing. But I think it would make more sense, and you wouldn't think too much about it if Evelyn was the only person that's already established villain to be teamed up with Batros.
I guess we've seen it so much, we wouldn't, I think, question it because we've seen her like to do it so many times. Like, okay, but otherwise,
she's a strong enough villain that she can go on her, and you don't think anything of it. So if she does team up with somebody else, you're like, okay, cool.
Well, how about I toss out this idea, and if you guys think it's stupid, you can just tell me to shove it up my ass or whatever.
It's stupid.
But how about either like next week or a future episode, we can kind of come back to that topic, and you guys kind of have your thinking caps on, and I'll even pose the challenge to the chat as well. We're talking about Batros and having a group potentially of like new characters. So if you guys would be up for the challenge, if you would want to develop new characters to have under Batros, new name, like come up with the names, come up with the design. Do you guys want to put like a limit on that if you're willing to do it? Maybe like 3 to 4 under him?
My fucking boss? Good God, bullying me. I feel like I'm back in high school or some shit. I got what to do and some homework.
Some Fans of Power homework. I mean,
3 is good. I think 3 is enough. We don't need to go beyond 3.
If you guys think it's a dumb idea, then it's a dumb idea. But I think it would just
No. It's not a dumb idea. I like it. Tyler and I could do something like that, but yeah, I'd think of like 3 characters to maybe go with Batros. Nothing beyond. We don't need to go fucking nuts and think of an army.
And
or
I would say let's make them new original characters, because I know Tyler said, "Oh, well, I already kind of have in mind like this character would probably team up with him." But let's make it like all new characters, and then like when we come back to this, you guys can present your ideas, and I'll sort of be the judge of the whole thing, and we'll have the chat put in a vote for it as well, and then we'll kind of go from there.
And we could pass all these fucking ideas on to Grimbot if he's listening, and he could draw them out. If he has stock animation and can do new stuff, Grimbot, that's a challenge for you. Give the 3 I do, the 3 Tyler does, and fuck Nathan, since you bring it up, you could even do that too.
No. I automatically, and I know Joe's going to be bugging the shit out of me about it. No, I want to go ahead and set back. I'm the newbie to the whole thing. I'm just here to like bring apart that creativity in your minds, and I think it opens up the door to really show what some of the people in the chat already know, like how creative you guys are and how passionate you are about this universe and its characters, and take all that and kind of make up your own. And you know, we can make classic figures out of them, and other people can be like, that sucked, that was a shit idea.
Yeah, we don't want to go down the road of Scott Nollick where you just, you force in your own shitty ideas and, and Jeff Johnson.
You want me to give you a breakdown off the shelf? Exactly. I did breakdown when I was 9 years old.
I'm
going to put that figure
Do you want me to...
Let me go grab my shitty figures off the shelf.
Come on, man. I don't want to be laughing for the next 10 minutes, crying.
Isn't that bizarre, though? And I have 3 characters that are on my shelf that I made when I was like 9 years old.
And that's what Joe's going to do, too. He's just going to, like, bring these guys back and, like, force them down everyone's throats.
I got Shadow He-Man.
and throw in Sky High just because, I named the character, so I've got to throw him in there. Like, that makes no sense at all, Joe.
Have them just hanging right back of me, right there. There's all 3 there.
Well, they are down for it, so you guys have something to look forward to with that, and hopefully they come up with something entertaining and great, which I have no doubts that you guys will be able to do that.
It will fit properly within the confines of the Filmation show. It will not be some sort of really bad fanboy fanfic bullshit, where it's just it's an Octo Ball thing and its name is Dracor. Like, no, that's just dumb and stupid. Get the hell out of here,
This guy over here, his name is Rockstone. I don't know what he looks like.
Yeah, but... isn't it awesome? Like, no, eat my ass. Get the hell out of here.
Look at this new character. Eat my ass.
Yeah, God, that's one thing. It's always so hard. Like I with new characters in general, there's very few people on this planet I would trust to come up with a new character that you feel like that you could buy, even that fits into the mythology. Like, when the 2000X cartoon, there was a few new characters we all embraced. We've all discussed it. We've all clearly discussed which ones we didn't embrace. But like Larry Taylor came up with the Faceless one. Like, he is, God rest his soul, is no longer with us, but he's somebody that you could entrust come out with a whole slew of new characters, and I wouldn't question any of it. It's just there's.
And this ain't tooting my own horn, because I'll let you know one thing. When I was making all those original classic figures, and I still make some, but when I told you I would sit there. Well, I'm on a vintage kick, boy. People are really wanting a lot of vintage customs as of late. But as for the classic figures, I would get this vision in my head of just a design, and I would sculpt, do the new stuff, make the design, and then I looked at that character, and in 10 minutes, I would do what I called the 10-minute bios. I'd come up with the bio, an origin, a name, and everything in 10 minutes. I forgot the shitload of characters I made that were all original that I could even show, but I did. And the thing is, I would always do the Masters of the Universe name game, if you will, meaning the name would have something either to do with their looks or their abilities, not just, like you were saying, Cargor or something. It's like, what the fuck is a Cargor? What does that mean? What does that mean for either his look or his ability? You know what I mean? When they would have a name that has nothing to do with their design or their abilities, it would just piss me off sometimes when I'd see some, just like you said, fanfic. I'm like, but what does that mean?
Right.
I had to
or
see
someone who really wants to take to heart that, like, I call this guy Ruler. Get it? Just like everyone's name ends with or.
Well, there we go. There's
and there's a lot of ors or rows.
Character right there. Done.
Yeah, it's a walking, talking roller.
It rules the
great ambitions
I got
because he's
this
going to outmeasure everybody.
It's a stapler. His name is Stapler. There we go. Done. Fuck, we're knocking him out, man. We're knocking him out.
My God. and we call this one Book Or, because he just drops on you. He dropped the book in on you.
The ors or the rows is what they would like to put after everything. Ors and rows and Ra. But, oh shit, let's get into the New Adventures mini-comic review, and then we can get Nathan get in the chat later, because I can't see it.
Tyler, once again, Tyler was like, well, let's do a New Adventures mini-comic. I'm like, all right. Well, I started flipping through the book, and I'm like, well, there's only 4? It's only 4, right? 4 or 5? I'm like, well, this isn't going to be difficult.
Yes,
I'm actually the one that chose this. I based it just off of the art alone, because some of them, art-wise, kind of seem a little funky. And this has got a lot of character work in it, so I enjoyed it quite a bit. And as you guys can see here, which Joe...
I'm going to pull a Nathan.
Yes.
Let me pull a Nathan on you real quick. What was it about this cover compared to the other 3 that really stood out to you that made you think, okay, I want to discuss this?
Well, mine wasn't even about the covers. Mine was just like going past those and actually looking at the contents and the art and like the battles and things that were going on within the mini comics. But I guess, if we're taking it at face value here with the cover of it, I mean, it's your classic design. We have He-Man and Skeletor going one-on-one, which... I don't think that this cover in particular is reflective on the art that's inside, because that is a little bit better. I wouldn't say that when you compare.
Yeah, Bruce Timm did this one, right? Bruce Timm.
Yeah, he did the cover, the interior. Yeah, that's all him.
Yeah, so when you compare this to like the other mini comics in the vintage line, obviously like we have ebbs and flows with the quality art wise, but compared to the other ones that we have, I don't know. There was just something about it that stuck to me, and I think, let me go ahead and get this on our first few pages here. The first thing that really stuck to me, which I guess I kind of missed an image from the look of this. Apologies. I missed the first page, which you guys can't see, but if you have the book, you can give it a look. I like that on this first page here, we get the tri-solar system. So it kind of breaks it down and explains it. Like, this is the universe that we're dealing with. And I feel like if some kids weren't watching the cartoon at the time, that if they were reading this mini-comic, they kind of get a general idea of this is where everything's laid out. Did either of you kind of have an opinion on that? Was it a good inclusion to have this in here? Did it help out? With...
Like, It's. I mean, I only had one of the mini comics as a kid. I had the first one because that's what came with my 2-pack, and I only had a couple of the figures, and the rest that I got didn't come with mini comics, oddly enough, which is kind of odd. It's like all the first 6 figures are the only ones that came with them. But no, I think it's important to. I think it just adds so much more depth, and honestly, it's even better than the animated series. I mean, just this picture alone of He-Man and the Galactic Guardians with Skeletor's visage in outer space, and you're seeing the vast planets and locations. I mean, like, oh my God, like, you really have a hard time arguing that this is no good.
Right.
You know, I mean, just it adds so much more scope. And as we said before, He-Man's been to outer space plenty of times, so it's not a far-fetched thing. So, Bruce Timm's artwork really hammers this in too. I mean, God, he makes Skeletor look amazing. And the shot of He-Man, KO, Flipshot, and Hydra all together. Yes. That is epic as shit, dude. Like, it just looks awesome. Like, Flipshot's there with his arms crossed. Hydron just looks like he's ready to just go kick. And just KO. KO does not get talked about enough. Like, he's not portrayed that well. I mean, most of them were not in the animated series. But I just always thought he had the most interesting visual of all the other characters, of all the Galactic Guardians. Like, ever since I saw him in the opening of the show, I'm like, who is that guy? And it's always been KO. That's why it was so important to me to finally get the figures. I never owned him as a kid. I never saw him as a kid. I just always thought the character was so striking, and I just think he looks awesome. And so it's so cool to see, you know, everyone in this mini comic, Optic, Flushhead, Slushhead, and Flog, are just treated with a lot of respect. Skeletor looks evil as shit. The coloring is beautiful in this as well. It does a really good job of pretty much kind of focusing on including all the core vehicles all in one book.
They definitely got the vehicles.
Yeah, they got them all in here. It's essentially, this is all kind of a 4-part story. It just kind of follows along. The second one's definitely by far the weakest of them because their artwork's so ugly. Story's just kind of, you know.
And this is definitely one that had enough of the vehicles and items to show, yes, this is what we're trying to sell. Even the description of Starship Eternia of how you use it one way, then the other way it can become a battle station.
Yeah, you know, which in the story doesn't make much sense, but it's just a way to let kids know, hey, you can transform this to a battle station, you know, which is awesome.
And I think here that the Terror Claw kind of takes front and center in terms of the vehicles in this mini comic. Which...
It was always kind of like seen as like, but I always like the shuttle pods too. The shuttle pods were really cool because you always see like fleets of them. Like they always come in groups sometimes, or it's like a quick getaway vehicle. But the Terror Claw is kind of like the big dominant.
Right. Well, and that's kind of awesome just from a toy standpoint too. Is just you got that can clip into the top of the Terror Claw, and then like you can detach it whenever you want. So, that makes it for like automatically a good toy. One question I kind of wanted to toss both your ways is because I know that New Adventures only gets talked about sporadically on this show, and I know that a lot of people have a tendency to push it off to the side. I know Joe in particular was kind of like about New Adventures, and I know Tyler yourself, you're like, it had some good spots in it, but overall you thought that it was a missed opportunity as well. But now, because you've been texting me, you're like, oh, I'm looking at these other complete New Adventure figures. What's kind of bringing you back into it? And
well, I've always supported New Adventures. It's kind of admitting that the cartoon is not that good. It has moments, but they just don't portray the heroes and villains as very enjoyable. You know, they make Flipshot to be real whiny. The voice characterizations are pretty lazy. They're not very interesting. They don't give people a lot of persona. It's definitely played for laughs. I mean, consistently. There are times where even I think it's a 5-part story arc, and me and Joe did a commentary, and Joe was like, "You picked this episode?" And like, I picked it because it's part of a good storyline, but unfortunately, the tone, you know, is just not very good for something where the bad guys are winning. It's still very silly. That's where I'm like, I have to just be honest with myself. The cartoon's not very good. I will forever carry a flag for this idea in this property because there's so much potential. Just this mini comic alone, and people in the chat room, I'm not sure, I can't see anything or anything like that, or people who listen to some Podbean or whatever. Like honestly, like I get people's complaints about the your initial response, just like Joe and others have said. It doesn't look like my He-Man. I was more like, I don't care. It's He-Man. I'll take it. But I don't think like that. I look at it strictly like, this is so interesting. To put He-Man and Skeletor in another galaxy, God knows where else. They're having more battles with new heroes and new villains. Just looking at all this alone, between these 3 planets, and you've got the moon of Nordor where the mutants hang out. Like, there's so many battles to go on. The Astro Sub, a spaceship that can go underwater, all the various vehicles and things like that. Like, you telling me you couldn't find any kind of joy and excitement in this just this group of characters alone, let alone the ones that are not featured, like Hoove and Karate, Sagittar, Tuscador, Artilla. There's just so much fun to be had. Like, it's like people who only like one particular part of He-Man. Like, I get that's your favorite, but like, you telling me you couldn't incorporate all these other great characters and ideas? I really think they were really onto something. Like, people always look at, if you go to space, that means your franchise is pretty much on the downward spiral, because you think of all the horror movies that sent their characters to space. Yeah. Jason, Leprechaun, Pinhead.
Right.
It's always a sign like, oh my God, like this is gonna suck. And it really just depends on how it's executed. Mainly because I'm sure people just can't seem to figure out how to make someone a viable threat in space from a horror movie perspective. But
I'll ask this: do you guys think that this New Adventures would have benefited from maybe coming out a couple years later than it did? Maybe it was just more of this was just too soon kind of thing.
I think that they addressed that in the Powers of Grayskull documentary. I think they said they felt it was a bit too soon, because this came out in '89. The line was canceled in '87 in America. Where in '88, Europe got some of the latter stuff, like the accessories and the giants, and then they got this. So Europe and Germany, like, they just kept going with all this stuff, and because He-Man was still going stronger over there. It's probably hard to say. I don't know if it would have been, because Turtles was still going so strong, well into the mid-90s. So I really can't say He-Man would have done any better had they waited.
Well, my thoughts, I
think people... Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Like I said, my thoughts on the whole cartoon is because, it was years later till I finally got to see the cartoon and read the mini comics. In the mini comics, the cartoon, it's night and day, just the way they look, the way they feel. And I felt like if the cartoon could have looked and been handled like the mini comics were, that maybe fans would have embraced it more, because the cartoon had more of a really lighthearted, and as we've said before, I felt like I was watching a Bible cartoon.
Right.
It just, and the look of it, the sound of it, just the atmosphere just didn't draw you in. But I believe that if it could have been handled like these mini comics to some degree, and a little more just impact of music, sound effects, just a lot of more oomph, like I said, I think that it could have been embraced a little more. I'm not saying it would have succeeded. I mean, yes, it probably would have went away too, but I think it could have possibly lasted a little longer than the New Adventures cartoon did last. Because I was so pissed. That's the thing, is every time I look at these mini comics, I mean, I'm like, damn, this is just full of so much action. They look so cool. Everything looks great. And then I look at the cartoon, it's like, like I said, it's not that the cartoon is a pile of shit. It's just, it's a hard thing for people to adjust to. It is vastly different, sounds different. I mean, think about what Grimbot has done. When Grimbot would add those sound effects and music to remember the New Adventure cartoon, and people are like, holy shit, this cartoon looks and sounds so much better now. It's a lot of things that factor into it, but yeah, I'd like to think that if it could have looked like this, maybe it would last longer. But like you said, you can never really guess. You never know. But this
I do feel like
it's a cool-ass comic.
It is, and I feel like if the animated series, which we have to blame, see, that's the thing. You kind of feel like Mattel went this direction with the mini comics. Like they're saying this is what we want in our mini comics with the figures, whereas the cartoon has a different tone. The story's different with different characters. Like, this is a pretty small group. Of course, you can only have so much in these mini comics, but still, you're given like the Master Sebring character and Drissy and Mara, and why they decided not to include mini comics with like Tuscador and Karate and Hoove and Artilla, Spinwit, Visor. I don't know, and it's not like they were utilized that great in the cartoon either. But you kind of feel like did Deep just decide we're going to kind of do our own thing with this, and I know Jack Olesker wrote a good portion of those episodes. It just kind of makes you wonder, like, were there two different agendas to this property?
Probably.
Because I feel like if New Adventures was portrayed like this I think it wouldn't have been as accepted because of He-Man. I think has just run its course. But people would go back to this and be more accepting of it. Whereas now it's so hard to sell it to anybody because of the stigma, because there are some bad stuff with it. But it just would be interesting to get people's thoughts on this. Like if I were to ask people, like, look at New Adventure Skeletor in this book, look at KO, look at, on this one page. This is one of my favorite ones. And this one on page 6, where it's 4 different panels of all the villains doing something to the people of the observatory, like showing them in action, doing what they do. Like, it's just a great way of depicting these characters as strong as possible, that they're threats, and we got to get the Galactic Guardians in here to kick their ass. Like just one shot of He-Man commanding them. Yeah. And they're all running KO with his bionic arm right there. It looked just badass, man. Yeah. And to any people in the chat room, can you really argue that this is beyond saving, that it's not salvageable, that this idea...
like, if you're just looking at it strictly from a mini-comic standpoint, you're kind of just blocking out the animated show. Like, if you're just looking strictly at this, this looks pretty cool. I would have to say. And I've been kind of going through the different scenes on here, so I've kind of been flipping through the book a little bit ahead. I just want to say that the part right here where KO just punches Optic right in his eye, like that's a good shot. I like that one a lot. and it's got enough of that, like, because it says here, it's like, I made you blink. Like, that's something that's like a what you would expect, but it's not something that makes you want to just roll your eyes or go vomit into a bucket.
Well, you expect puns like that in a lot of these mini comics, because they were done in almost all of them. If one didn't have it, you find it in the next one. So that's just because these are written for kids, but it's nice to know that these books are not written down to look down at kids. It's written as, the boys want to see these characters as action-oriented, stories, and, that you would want to be He-Man fighting Skeletor. You want to be KO punching the shit out of Optic. You don't want to be looking at something that's anything less than that, because you want to interact at home with your figures, or you want to go outside with your power sword and pretend you and Flipshot are going to go stop Slushhead. Right. And it's a shame that the cartoon just does not depict that first episode, which I still thoroughly enjoy. It's got some moments that I just kind of cringe at, but it does depict He-Man and Skeletor and the mutants, and Flog and Hydron and Flipshot is a lot more likable, and like, okay, this is setting up, what this is going to be like. And I swear, after that episode, even though Skeletor is played down for more of a humor take, there's still a bit of a sinister aspect to him. Like, one of my favorite parts of that episode is when Skeletor is making a deal with Flog that, you teach me the ways of this galaxy, and I'll teach you how to defeat He-Man. And Flog is only agreeing to it if Flog could still run the show. And, of course, Skeletor is like, sure, whatever. And he kind of turns like he's just using this situation to manipulate Flog, and just, how can I, exploit this situation? That's what Skeletor would do. And that's an aspect that is not paid attention to, because people are not really giving the property a shot. And I understand that. That's why I'm on here, trying to encourage people to, if you don't like the show, that's fine. I'm not going to be on this podcast and try to defend that cartoon anymore. It's a hard sell. It's wasted opportunities with some good moments in between there. I don't think Joe's going to ever really come around on it. Nathan, I don't know what Nathan's take is on it, because we've only talked about so much with Nathan. Right. Nathan had some of the figures as a kid, and they're in my collection here because he was such a wonderful best friend. He gave them to me as a Christmas present. Yeah. But it's an interesting discussion that we've had countless times on this podcast. But anybody that listens to this podcast this week, whether you leave us a comment, you contact Joe, Nathan, or myself, or you just think to yourself in your car at work or whatever, is it really that hard of a sell to get into New Adventures and accept this as part of He-Man's story? Because that's where I really feel like this works, is that this is just a continuation of what we saw in Filmation, but that He-Man leaves. And there is no bullshit of She-Ra joining him, like what was written in those ass backward mini comics that came with the classic figures. You telling me that she was going to leave her own planet, and leave the Horde to run the show? Hell no, she ain't going to do that. It's just stupid, and that was just more fanfic bullshit. We got to give her a new Adventures costume too. Like, no, it's just stupid. No, that's He-Man and Skeletor's story, which is why I always thought Emiliano's Homecoming was such an interesting project that he did. It was a school project. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, he did a story where He-Man comes back from the events of the New Adventures. And King Hiss has married Teela. He's pretty much running the show, but he's got this kind of easy alliance that, as long as Teela stays faithful to him, he won't, kill the heroic warriors. He is running the show. There's like a massive cosmic key. Skeletor's come back. He's kind of like I don't know. It's a really interesting story that ties in the events of what happened in New Adventures. So obviously Emiliano seems to like New Adventures. But I just feel like, think about what the property's actually offering to you, and I get if you want to dismiss, certain things, you don't like the looks or whatever, but I feel like it can still work as a great story to be told in He-Man's ongoing mythology. Right. It's just not executed the best way. And if you look at these mini comics, especially like the 3 out of 4 are pretty damn good. So, I'll shut up.
Yeah,
here
I was gonna get Joe to give his thoughts because I was worried for a second there that he was falling
I need to
asleep
just get off my damn soapbox here. I'm so sorry, Joe.
You're fine.
God.
No, it's like I said before. I wondered how it would have been as a kid because how I told you when I was a kid when I first seen the figures on the store shelves, how pissed I was because I was like, that doesn't look like He-Man. What the hell's going on? And I had no idea of a cartoon even existing. So. In my thoughts now, after finally, seeing all the comics and then watching a good amount of the episodes, not a lot though, I just wondered, would I have been even more pissed as a kid if hypothetically, let's say I bought that figure, one of the New Adventures figures, seeing the comic, I was like, God damn, this is really cool. And then suddenly on TV, I was like, wait, this is on TV. And then I would have seen how that was. I just wonder if I'd be that drastically upset thinking, this doesn't look nothing like the comic. And some people could say, well, hey, Joe, Masters of the Universe, even the cartoon and the comics back then were kind of different. I was like, well, they might have been kind of different, but they still had aesthetics that were the same to where He-Man looked like how he should. But this would have I'm like, damn, they look so badass in these mini comics and the cartoon and the tone and that music and everything. I hate that I don't enjoy it that much. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a dick, but you can't like everything. And the cartoon, like you said, it's got continuity. Don't get me wrong, great, stories, but it's like we've said, it is a hard sell. But the mini comics are not a hard sell. You can pick those up and just look at them and say, these are fucking great. And I just wish the cartoon could have delivered what the mini comics did, and maybe there would have just been a whole different attitude towards the cartoon. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, but just that alone, just Joe is not dismissing the whole New Adventures idea altogether. Like, he looks at these mini comics and sees the potential, and so does Nathan. Right. And that's all I want, fans of He-Man to look at. I told you, I mean, I'm not going to. It's going to be hard for us to do a commentary on another New Adventures episode. I was going
to say, when I was with you guys on the commentary for the New Adventures episode that we did, Tyler kind of hammered this home often when he was talking, and he was on a soapbox for about 35 minutes there. But it has the sprinkles of potential, but everything else around it is just kind of so mediocre and vastly different from what you're used to. I got that same, I know Joe probably won't understand this, but I know Tyler will, and I know some of our younger listeners will understand this a bit more. When it went from Doug on Nickelodeon to Doug on Disney, it was that drastic swing this way. I'm like, yeah, these are similar characters, but they look so different, and some of them sound different, and all of it just looks wrong. It was hard to get into that. So I kind of feel that that's the same way going from Filmation over to Deke doing new adventures, and it's off-putting, honestly. Would you guys all kind of agree that if you want to get into New Adventures, the best way is just the mini comics? And Joe might fight on this, but the action figures, I know that's a big change as well.
Well, I've appreciated it's what I told Tyler a lot of times is, once again, when the internet came around and I figured, okay, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to get my new, first New Adventures figure. And I got it in hand. I was like, you know what? It's pretty damn cool. So I ordered another. And then I got a good amount up on my wall over there. But I appreciate what they did with them, meaning it's not just using like how the Masters of the Universe figures were basically all same kind of buck body, same build, everything. They're doing completely new sculpts and just a lot of details, and the characters really do pop out at you. So I can't say I regret not getting them as a kid. I don't know, because I still don't know what my thoughts would be. But as an adult, I really appreciate the figures. I love the mini comics. The cartoon is still just so hard to just get into. It's just a hard. It's like we've said a million times, hard sell, but it's just, if it could have been slightly maybe a different, maybe music, sound effects, action, something, but it just felt too happy and churchy to me. Yeah. I don't know, but that's why I'm curious. Like, we're towards the end anyways, and I didn't know if Nathan, because I can't see it, I'm curious if the chat room, like, what did they think of the cartoon compared to mini comics? What were their thoughts? Had they been talking, or maybe they haven't even mentioned, but
it's been a thing of just, most people tolerate it. Even Curtis Ackerman's right here. I've never seen these mini comics, but they're way cooler than the cartoon. I was really torn on New Adventures when it came out. I was mad it wasn't the same, but happy that He-Man was back. So a lot of the same general ideas, I think, that the three of us have kind of talked about on here. That I think from my standpoint, just even though I only did the commentary and watched like that one episode, I would check out a few more. But for me, it's strictly like the mini comics are great. The classics that have come out, I have quite a few of the classics from New Adventures. I would kind of like to get some more of them, and maybe even start getting some of the vintage ones too, because I almost got like the original vintage line complete, like figure wise. Maybe I can kind of shift over to New Adventures as well, because I do like those figures. So I think we can all kind of be in agreement. The cartoon is kind of whatever it is, but I think you guys should just go for the figures and the mini comics. But I also think that it should be an idea that should be explored a little bit more, which maybe that could be another Fans of Power homework thing for an even later date, that we can figure something out with that. But yeah.
I mean, it's untapped potential. Yeah. I mean, it's
well, because it didn't. You got these few mini comics. Granted, the animated series went on a decent amount, but I think if you could redo that and retool it and present it as such as we've seen in the mini comics, like you guys said, then I think that it could have been successful.
Hell, and it's what we said before. They went into like the UK and other countries even more. They had a good amount of the UK magazines and even the annuals, and those were good too. It was just, it's the cartoon was the fucking unfortunate sore eye, and that's the thing. Is usually you figure it's the cartoon that you're wanting to get the most attention to, and it sure did, but in a negative way. It's like we said, it's a missed opportunity, but I love how they continue so much in the UK and Italy and Germany and these other countries. They were still embracing Masters of the Universe and Princess of Power and New Adventures for a little bit longer in here. Maybe they can bring some of that shit over, because these 4 mini comics, while being great, it just ain't enough. Right. It's like we only had 4 mini comics here. I'd love to see more of those UK stories brought here for other people to read. Maybe that'd change their minds too.
Yeah, and I would not really talk to too many people, from overseas that, about New Adventures. So, and I do feel like it was definitely embraced a little bit more too, or, it's, you just don't hear that stigma, from Europe, especially since it was still going as long. And you see references in people's work and things like that, in artwork as well. But I guess here in the States, it was just like, no, we're done with He-Man and the vintage line, and we're done with, we don't like this new incarnation either. And I'm like, well, thanks a lot, all you assholes. You ruined it for me as a kid. Having to move on to play whatever. Like, you tell me there wasn't enough room for Turtles and G.I. Joe and, other toy lines to exist at the same time. That's fine then. You take away all my hopes and dreams of getting Karate and Hoove as a kid, because I couldn't find them, or KO.
Well, let's get to some of those suckers. Maybe we'll see. If you guys have any questions you want to ask me, Tyler, and Nathan about New Adventures, Princess Power, He-Man, or anything else, hit it now in the chat room. anything. And of course, Nathan's gonna be taken over because, well, I don't have the computer to look. So, Nathan, you'll have to hit if they're even talking now.
Well, I'll go ahead and read some of the stuff that's in here. We actually do have a question here from Rob Orm. Does anyone know if Optic was taken from the created character idea Fearless Photog contest? The eyeball with the spear.
No.
Was he originally going to be in the original toy line?
Yeah.
So no. So it's a no on that one.
No. I think it's just its own. Only
theories, because not only that, not to mean to interrupt you, Tyler, but I know theories. People said, "Hey, I wonder if from that creative character, if that influenced Optic, just like how remember Netta influenced Netasa." I was like, no, trust me, they're completely two different characters. But they said, "Hey, it's a Net idea. It's a female." But I do understand and see where he's coming from. But I still would like that big ass I-beam. Isn't that his name? The big sucker, wasn't it I-beam? That big
I-beam, brainwave compactor. Netta, if she was slimmed down, because Axel did this really cool design of her, and like the thing that was in that ad for creative character, like she expands to engulf you as a net, like that makes more sense. But all those creative characters, I would love to see them done, and even the ones that were runners up in classics that were all passed over for Castle Grayskull, man, piece of shit. Yeah, I'm just like King Grayskull in Certain Layers of Mighty Spring. You will never, ever, ever. And I feel like I'm the black sheep because I feel like so many people like Castle Grayskull, man. I'm like, for the life of me, I cannot figure out why.
Well, it changed, remember, because when that first was shown, we said that how many times? When they first showed them, everybody thought it was a joke. They're like, what are you talking about? Because remember how we were always on pins and needles waiting for all the news from San Diego Comic-Con of what's going on. In a quick early leak came up of Castle Grayskull, man, and they're like, oh, who's putting this joke? Look at this fake shit. Everybody was in every forum thinking it was phony, and then they said, nope, this is the real character. It was a choice. And I'm like, what? So some people have learned to embrace him. It's just me. It's just, he's there. I don't flip. I'm not saying he's a complete shit. I just don't flip.
Yeah, no, he's complete shit. He's complete shit. And I will emphasize that again. I'm sorry, when you saw characters like Raja, Three Beasts, Major Header,
I like
Gang
Raja.
Store.
I liked Raja.
Oh my God! Like
that
that was my favorite. That's why I had Axel do an illustration with Raja in it, even though it was.
Let me see that. Yeah, I'd like to see that because Raja he's a fucking awesome looking character. I'd like to, and everybody else can see what Axel did too. That's why it'd be pretty cool to see this.
Let's see here.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead and pull back just a little bit. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see Joe's reflection on.
Well, look next to Joe's reflection. You can see Raja right there.
Yeah, he's a cool ass character. God damn.
Yeah, which I always pictured him. Which I was told the guy who or the person who created the character intended him for to be a hero. I always saw him as a villain. Because
either way, he's a badass character. No matter what, that's just a badass looking character.
Yeah, I like that. Like, how the hell could you pass up that concept? Whether he's a heroic warrior who's out to kill the Snake Man, or he's a new evil warrior, Revenge Squad. What a shitty name for a faction. God.
Well, I mean, and that's why it's going to be on you guys to create 3 new original characters to follow around with Batros. I'm going to get around to some of these questions. First, before I get into it, I'm going to kind of go through. I'm just going to kind of lump them together for the comments on last week's episode. Most of it was just like, and I saw Tyler had replied to some of these. We got some support on one of your guys' thoughts on part 2 and 3 that we never got. Brad Collins even saying, I'm happy to contribute with money or anything to help you guys to do this. So we got a lot of that. So thank you guys for commenting, leaving that feedback.
Yes,
appreciate it.
That was nice to see a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback. We need more of that, damn it.
Well, hopefully we can. All right. The first question here comes from Zentron. What piece of dialogue do you consider the most emotional? Something that really pulls on the heartstrings, get you welling up from either He-Man or She-Ra?
Oh boy, I got a bunch of those.
Well, you kind of narrow it down to like your.
Well, you know what? Me growing up, just not that I was an asshole or nothing. I wasn't a bad guy.
Joe's a good guy. But,
no, I'm just saying, you know how it is, and you would get into shit with people. And I always remember the one line with Dragoon, I believe, where he says, I may be your enemy, but you may be, I may be your enemy, but you're not mine. It
Yeah.
made me think about in school, because there was people like you'd have a fucking issue, and sometimes I was thinking, what the fuck did I do? I mean, I know I got a mouth, and sometimes it could piss people off. I was like, did I
And
really
steal their books and steal their food, but I'm like, I'm not a bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. Bring that, but yeah, I remember there was one kid in particular. I was like, what the fuck did I do? I was like, I wasn't his enemy, but. Well, that's it. I like that at least one line, because you're right. There's many of them, but that one just kind of stuck out to me because it was relatable, I guess.
That's definitely a powerful moment when He-Man and Dragoon confronts him after saving him, and that line that He-Man gives. A personal favorite is when the Dragon's gift and He-Man till the return, and Grandma says, "Where's my gift?" And he says, "We don't have it." Because Sky Tree is any tree has as much right to life as you or me or Man at Arms, and we will not take a life to save a life. And Grandma just kind of like sneering at it a little bit, because he like doesn't know how to really respond to something that's like, oh my God, like a human has got a conscience and morality. That is powerful writing, and the way He-Man and the way John Irwin delivers it in the music that's playing it, like he's accepting his fate, and even when He-Man realizes, like, Teela, we can't do this. Like, it's just such great acting on He-Man's part, especially early in that episode when he's telling Tolamar the Tree Precon, like, you don't want to know what we're up to. Like, doesn't want to tell him, like, we're going to go kill this tree. We're going to go chop it down, the oldest living thing on this planet. We're going to give it to this dragon. Like, you don't want to know what we're up to. Being, like, he knows what we're doing is not right. But it's just, and I give James E. Talk credit for that. He pointed out that fact on his web episode review website years and years. I never forgot it. But
speaking of James, how about we say that in 2 weeks? I was going to let everybody know that on May 10th that James E. Talk will be on, and we got some shit we'll be discussing, some cool shit, and he's of course going to show what he's been doing, because like I said, out of the kindness of his heart and with everybody in conjunction with the Power and Honor Foundation, been sharing all those amazing pieces of art, things from Filmation, and he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do anything like that, but there's a lot of shit going on in the world, and people are kind of in the dumps and things, and it was very kind for him to do that. I think he just ended showing even more today. I think he was going to go to like 21 things, but the last I seen was maybe 24 or 25, but he'll probably share those. We can have them up on the screen, discuss those, along with a VCR game that in a catalog. I always wondered, hey, where the fuck? I never got this game. And to find out that James, hey, he's got like some kind of script and idea of what it was supposed to have been like, and there was going to be new dialogue. And I was like, okay, we got to talk about this crazy game. But I only have that one image. So he'll be on in a couple weeks, and yeah. So I didn't know what your next question was, Nathan, but that'll be fun.
Now that Joe's put that out there, James will just message him and be like, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
He said no.
We made all these promises. Adam Gabbert says, Joe, Tyler, Nathan, Master of the Universe Day is this coming Tuesday. Are you doing anything to honor the fan holiday? I was kind of unaware of this. For those that aren't aware, would you guys mind explaining the purpose of this day? Like, why does it fall on this specific day in particular?
Is that Mayor Bradley? I'm trying to remember who his name was, but somebody deemed that on Masters of, that day, and it's been celebrated within the fandom for years. Like, I'm always sharing like a Happy Masters of the Universe Day that I'll always put on, every day when it happens. Okay. But I'm trying to remember the city, because now I'm having a Tyler moment, like how he forgot. I'm pissed that I forgot which city it was, but I'm almost certain it was Mayor Bradley that did it. See, now I gotta Google it, because I'm gonna be pissed. I want to make sure it was Bradley. And you go to the next question.
Does Tyler know off the top of his head by any chance?
No, because I just kind of was like, that would have been cool back then, but right now,
right.
Every day is Master of the Universe Day. Like,
but
don't get fixated on these trendy days where everyone's got
hang on. No, Tyler, you're wrong. Not every day is Master of the Universe Day. Every day is Rusev Day. Get it right. Okay. Tyler doesn't know what I'm talking about.
Well, I am right with Bradley,
but that's all I know.
Here it is. It says, as decreed by Mayor Tom Bradley of Los Angeles, California, in 1987, April 28th is Masters of the Universe Day. And that was pretty much it. I know that there was a big in-depth writing somewhere about it, but he decreed it back then, and it's just been celebrated within the fandom. And me, with my crazy-ass pictures I share that have gotten shared throughout the years, and people bring up old photos I did. So my shit's kind of spread around like a little bit of a virus.
Well, I'll ask this then. Who was in attendance for this to be decreed as such? Like, was it like the filmation crew? Was it the voice actors? Was there anybody there? Was it?
Shit, I don't know. Maybe it was just him saying, "Hey, I've been Master Universe."
I'm
really
sure for the most part, this no one knew about this until it pops up on the internet. So everyone's just like, "Oh God, I can do a meme now too."
Maybe there's people in the chat that actually remember the day. I don't know, because I actually don't remember how it happened, because I wasn't in fucking Los Angeles and it wasn't on TV. But yeah, through the internet, once the internet came, you find out, hey, it was decreed on that day, but people celebrate. But just like Tyler said, almost nobody had fucking known unless you lived in Los
We'll just go
Angeles.
with every day is Motu Day. And we'll
that's how it is for
me.
We'll
decree it as Motu Day and Motu Day to piss Joe off.
Hate that fucking reference.
Anyway.
Got it.
Grim2.
Okay, go ahead. Next
Grim2 says, thoughts on the Glenons or whatever those deformed dwarfs were called.
I wish they would have made those little bastards. Yeah, from New Adventures, the Glenons. And that's the thing is, as I started learning about the figures, when the internet came around, I seen those little suckers. I was like, oh my God, they would have been perfect companions to put around, like, even though they're different worlds, but with, the Meteorbs and Stondar and Rock-On. They were just cool little shit things that obviously maybe to capitalize off of transforming rock gimmicks that just didn't happen. But I mean, they look cool. I couldn't even remember if they transformed those little fuckers, but they were little rock characters. Did they transform, Tyler? Or were they just rock figures? I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember. Honestly, I'm not going to pretend like I do.
Okay, they were Well, they were like, I know they were shown in catalogs, just like with a lot of figures that were released back in the day. But they were little New Adventures figures. They were called Glenons, and I thought they were rock characters. Yeah. Yeah, look it up. Oh shit! Now I got to go to Google because I got to see did they transform or not.
Well,
I hate fucking.
Why you guys?
Well, you know what? I'll if people get more quiet, I'll focus on that joke.
While we're doing that, Omar Rana asks, does anyone know when the Kevin Smith He-Man is due out? No, we don't. We haven't heard anything.
No.
I imagine it probably would have been sooner than what it'll be expected now with everything getting pushed back.
Yeah, everything's being delayed from movies and stuff. So, and I'm sure it's probably not a priority to some people, but. I know Kevin Smith is still working on it. He gives updates. I'm like, oh my God, he's changing dialogue. He's going to have Stinkor saying snoogans and shit like that.
We'll see how that turns out. Kurt?
I was going to say quickly,
yes.
As for the Glenons, they didn't transform, but they were these like little like creatures that they kind of had like almost like rock armor, but there was about 4, I think, at least from what they showed. And they were just cool little shit characters. Yeah, they didn't transform or nothing. I don't know if they were in the cartoon because I didn't watch all the cartoon. Remember, so I'm sorry, people. I did not watch all the New Adventures cartoon.
Curtis Ackerman asks, I just broke down and bought the Mondo figures. I'm still not sold on the He-Man head, but overall I felt I needed to have them. What are your guys' thoughts? I know that someone sent Joe one. Thanks, guys, for sending me or Tyler one. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was sent one. They look great, and I'll just let you know, if you're somebody that has the money for like the $150 that they cost, I mean, sure, they're worth it, because I thought these things were just going to be, here's your one big-ass figure, and here's an interchangeable head, and that's it. They got a lot of shit that comes with it, but I mean, it's a collection that definitely I would not want it to keep growing and growing, because they're so goddamn big. Who could have 100 of those in their house unless they got a mansion? But I mean, as for a nice collector item, they're cool, but in moderation of releases, not too many.
I think they look pretty cool. It's not something that I would want to seek out and get every one of, but I think like a select few.
Pick and choose.
Kind of pick and choose.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually kind of knew about getting 1 or 2 of them recently, but I hadn't pulled the trigger on it. It's just something I'm like,
Yeah.
More likely like Faker.
Yeah, I think Merman looks really great too.
Merman looks awesome. I don't like that bullshit hairdo they give Man-at-Arms. Like, why does everyone try to give Man-at-Arms like these tricked out hairdos, man? It's like
tricked out. It was this like exhibit on Pimp My Ride. What do you?
I'm just trying to like. To just give him like this kind of like, I guess, edgy hairdo.
Can I say something about that Man-at-Arms that I guess in a way just not a nitpick? Well, yeah, no, it is a nitpick. I think like I don't know if it's the exclusive version because I know some of the exclusive versions come with things, maybe not, but I know it comes with like Orko in a pot, and it's Filmation Orko. But then, with that being said, why does he come with a snake armor head based off of what they were thinking?
Oh God!
I hate that snakehead. I hated it when it was released in classics. I hate it now. I don't know many people that even like that idea, but apparently it's that. And we've seen him without his helmet in the Filmation cartoon a couple times, and we've seen his hair. So I know what Tyler's saying. Where let's shave it on the side. Let's go back in the ponytail. Let's do this to look edgy.
It
but
looks like shit.
Yeah. So, but otherwise, the figure with him with his helmet and by himself, badass. Yeah.
That does look good, but I just. There's some stuff like it just feels like they went too far on, and I feel like including Filmation objects with a figure that looks nothing like Filmation, like couldn't you have just done like an upscale, like super expensive out the ass Filmation figure of He-Man, Skeletor, Faker, Merman, and Man-at-Arms, as opposed? It just kind of feels awkward to have Relay thrown in with Skeletor. That way people can have say, I am not nice, and then do like their own like bullshit meme of that. I mean, it looks good, but it just kind of like doesn't really fit with it. Like you really gonna
because you even get Burby. Yeah, because I noticed that.
Yeah, Burby comes with He-Man. You're like, yeah, that's cool, but it doesn't fit with the figure. Like even you just put it on display, it doesn't fit.
And I wonder what that choice, why that is, because these figures are so stylized and so unique and new that I appreciate and love and respect of the new looks. But then again, you're getting Filmation things with them. And as for the heads, I'll be honest, I am not a fan of the vintage style He-Man head or Skeletor head that comes with those Mondo figures. They look weird.
It just like with the body and everything they've done, it just sort of offsets it and it just looks strange. I agree.
Yeah, I just like the new designs, new figures, but yeah, you move on, Nathan.
Well, let's. I'll read one comment and then we'll do one last question. JSP said the Master Universe Day was created for the sole purpose of promoting the Power Tour in Los Angeles at the time.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, JSP.
And we'll leave it with one more question from Papa Huds. How did Teela become Captain of the Guard? Through her hard work, or did Man-at-Arms pull some strings?
Probably from bitching about it too much. And if I just give it to her, so she'll shut the hell up.
Well, there we go.
That's something I feel like that's something I would personally want to write and justify her being a bitch because she's not given title Captain of the Guard, because you're not going to be Captain of the Guard and acting the way that she does. She still acts like a child, where her free time is busting Adam's balls, whereas you ought to have a reason for that a little bit more, like because she genuinely likes Adam a lot. She doesn't want to see him look like a failure, even though he's doing it deliberately to avoid people being suspicious about his whereabouts. You need to expand upon that and give her reasons why, or that she's mad because she hasn't been given Captain of the Guard, and she's convinced that she can, and then she makes great mistakes because she's convinced I could do this. Like, no, you can't. There's more to being Captain of the Guard than just ordering people around and saying what you will and won't do. Like, I would make that a learning experience for her that humbles her, puts her in her place, and makes her an even greater warrior, mentally and physically, because she knows what it takes to be that. It's not just, I'm a girl, I deserve it. You're like, no, you earn it. You don't get it just because you're a woman and you feel like you deserve it. Like, no, earn it. Earn like anyone else would. Whether you're a man, woman, someone from another race, or whoever. Like, I just kind of feel like that would bring so much more depth to that character. This just kind of comes off as a one-note character that nobody knows how to write the character. She's not written as obnoxious in these books, in these mini comics, but she's written as a pain in the ass. And, I've said it before, and I don't know if anybody listening right now heard it back then. But I just feel like a lot can be done to give her a reason why she acts that way, but humble her about it. Because I feel like that she becomes Man-at-Arms is the same way. I don't feel like they write Man-at-Arms as a very likable character for the most part. He's not very likable in NYP. He has his moments in Filmation, but he's kind of written as one note. It's just this, no, Teela, you stay here, like being so dismissive of her, like which and therefore encourages her to be a bitch, and to disobey. Like,
and then she yells at him. She's like, "You ain't my real dad," and then she runs.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, she's PMSing again." It's both of them. Wow. I busted their balls on this podcast so many times.
Wait. So when you say the whole thing about that, are you kind of saying that in the aspect of like that's how like Man-at-Arms is probably thinking too? Like just that old shitty like mentality. It's like, oh, she's on her period again. And you know what? I kind of hate that trope of like dudes thinking it's like, oh well, she's angry, must be on her period. I'm like, come on, like
women are angry all the time, and not just one time.
And it's usually our fault. So
yeah. So yeah, I just feel like they just suffer for not being. Like we think we all know that they're essentials to this mythology. Like none of us would ever want to see another movie, another show, another comic book that did not feature Teela and Man at Arms. They are essential to the story as the Power Sword is. You have to have them, but no one just seems to know how to write them. Right. Like Man at Arms is the war veteran. He should be there to constantly guide Adam at all times. Like and we see brief moments of that information. Like Teela's Quest is a prime example of Man at Arms written perfectly. Prince Adam no more. He's written perfectly in that. The rest of the time, he's just written as someone who's just constantly giving Orko shit all the time. And it's like, dude, we get it. We get it.
Do you think it would be too much to sort of, with him being like that veteran, of having like any sort of flashback stuff for him that kind of shows the shit that he's gone through, that kind of makes him who he is now, to kind of open up that character to where people really see this is why he seems so closed off sometimes. This is why he seems kind of like mean-spirited towards other people, kind of thing.
I think it would show why he's very quick to not allow Teela to come along. Like that would work if she's not captain of the guard. Like her goal is she wants to be captain of the guard. Because I'm sure in a boys' club she feels like she can do it just as anyone. It's kind of the same trope you see in stories where women are trying to rise above. In a group of men, they feel that they can do the same thing just as well as men, that kind of thing. But Man at Arms is like, look, I've seen people dying. It's not fun. It's not fun to watch another guard that you've led into battle die in your arms, and you got to go back to the royal palace and let his wife and child know your husband's not coming home. Like, it ain't fun in games, Teela. Like, your eagerness to quickly jump out there and be one of the guys, you're doing it because you think you're being held back because you're a woman. He's doing it because, do you really want that on your conscience? Like, do you really want to, have to carry somebody back on your shoulders, because that's the only way they're going to survive. And if you don't make it back, their life is in your hands, and they could die at any moment if you don't get them back for medical attention. Knowing that you're in command of other people's lives, like if you put that spin on it, that makes Man at Arms' reason for being, so quick to say Teela, like, no, you stay here, guard this. It would make so much more sense.
It's a fatherly thing. I mean, how it is.
It's a father. Yeah.
You're going to want to protect, because he's trained her since she was young. We've seen that in a couple flashbacks where he showed her even when she was young with, just, doing the training. Yeah. He's probably doing the best he can to make her the captain of the guard, but also to let her understand, like you said, about death. But there's that thing in his head. It's always going to be like, this is still my daughter. I want to protect her. And that's, you see that with parents, even when their kids are in their 40s and 30s, 40s, they still want to make sure they're okay. And, you can understand it. But yeah, hopefully I'm not saying what's going to happen in the new cartoon. We don't know. Hopefully there's some good, well-written stories and episodes and character development that you can cross your fingers.
Don't set your expectations. Wishful thinking.
Just wishful thinking. But yeah, I guess we'll find out when it happens. But if that's
come on, we've already heard shitty dialogue already, so we can't expect I'm sorry. We all know Kevin Smith's going to come in there and just rub his snooking fingers all over it, and more humor here, and let's emphasize, people are sniffing stink or smell. They're getting high off of it. Yeah, it'd be funny, man.
We'll see how it goes.
Any more questions, Nathan, or was that pretty much it, and then we can wrap it up?
I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Most of it, the rest of it was just kind of piggybacking off the conversations that we were having. So yeah, go ahead, Joe. Give us the green light to go home.
All right. Yeah, sorry I didn't catch all you guys this week. Like I said, didn't have the computer, had a different tablet. Next week, hopefully I'll have it back. But either way, I'm hoping you guys enjoyed this episode. I'm glad you joined us here. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you like, subscribe, share, ring that bell so you can always be notified when we do go live. And until next time, have a powerful day.
Hey, I don't know if you're up on current events, but we just got our asses kicked, pal.
Aliens. Yeah.
Oh. Seen that movie once. I feel like an asshole.
Wasn't like Alien Day like yesterday or today or something? I can't
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but that's not why I picked it. I watched
I've been thinking,
Aliens recently.
I've been thinking about Alien and Aliens, and I'm like, I need to watch those again. It's been too long.
Oh yeah, I actually was watching Aliens yesterday. I got halfway through the first one last night before I got too tired. So,
right on.
Yeah.
All right.
Just for the hell of it, not for some bullshit you made up holiday.
Right.
Because I'm a fan and I watch it anytime I want, year round. Same thing with He-Man.
Every day is Rusev Day.